The awkward pause. I wasn't sure if we were recording it or not, so my fault. So previously we talked about what is a function. We defined a function as a set of x values that can only match up to one set of y values, right? So now we're going to look at this other thing called domain and range. And this is kind of a tricky topic to talk about, but hopefully we can grasp the basic understanding of it because you will need it for geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, maybe even statistics, and definitely in calculus if that's where you choose to go. And you're definitely going to need it in college prep math as well. So what I'm trying to say is you'll need domain and range from now until the day you graduate high school. Okay? So let's see if we can figure this out. All right, so domain is the set of all of your x values for a relation. Okay? So we start at the left and we go to the right. Okay, so just as a reminder, our left, those are our negative x values, and our R is our positive x values. So when we list out our domain, we start with the negative x's and we go to the positive x's. Okay, so it's all the x values for a relation from smallest to largest. Okay, we just list them out. Range, well, if domain is all of our x values, range is all of our y values. Okay, so just like x goes from left to right, range, our y, go from bottom, or our low values, to top, which is our high values. Okay, so remember, bottom and low, those are our negative y values, and our top or high are our positive y values. Okay, so knowing this, we're going to apply domain and range to the, 5, 6 examples that we did yesterday. Okay, so looking at example 1, we have all of our points, our relation, our function. Well, we said it wasn't a function, so now we're going to figure out the domain and the range. So domain is all of our x values from smallest to largest. Okay, so our smallest x value is a -2. And then after that, we go up to 0, 2, and yes, there's 2 2's here, but we only have to write it once, okay? And 3. Okay, there's our domain. Pretty simple, right? So range is our y values from smallest to largest. So -4, -1, 1, 3, 4. Okay, and put the y there so we know. So there's our domain, there's our range. Pretty self-explanatory, right? Okay, so let's look at example 2. So this one's a little bit trickier because we have a graph. Now, everyone that I know thinks that finding domain and range from a graph is actually the hardest. Okay, and in some cases it can be. All right, so we're going to look at domain, which is our x values. And remember, we are going left to right. And we're looking just for the set of points, okay? So if we start here, that's at -4. The next point is at -1. The next point, that x value is 0, and then we have a 2. Okay. Our range, reminder, is our y values, and they go from bottom to top. Okay? So our points are going to be a little bit different order. So we're going to find the lowest point and we're going to go to the highest point. Okay, so here's our lowest point. Notice I'm looking at the y-axis now. So that's at -3. The next point is right here. That's at -2. -1. That's at 0. That one's at 2. Okay? All right, so looking at example 3, we already had this labeled from our previous example. Our input was our x values, our output was our y values. This actually makes it really easy for us because this is the domain, which means that this one, in this circle, is our range. Okay, now we just have to put them in order from smallest to largest. So, our domain, -4, 3, 5, 7, which means our range, 4, 14, 32. And I know that we're talking about domain and range here, but I would like to stop and kind of a side note, kind of a segue as to what these right here are supposed to look like. And I want to review very quickly, if you're given something like this, how do you know it's a function and how do you not? So if you're given something that looks like this, so we'll just do this and we'll do example. Okay, so if we have two x's that go to the same y, okay, they're paired with the same y, yes, that's a function, okay, 100% that is a function, okay, but if we have one x trying to go to two different y's, that, my friends, not a function. Okay? So if you're ever given pictures that look like this, make sure you have this written down because that's important. Okay? So back to example number 4. Notice I crossed out the 4 there. I wrote it back underneath so that way we could figure out our domain and range. Sorry. That should be... that should be over here. Okay. So our domain is our x values from smallest to largest. Okay, so I'll squeeze them in down here. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, and you're going to notice when you look at your y values that they're all the exact same. 4, 2, 2, 2, 4. So our range, smallest to largest, 4, 2. Okay. Number 5, again, pretty simple. And I say simple because they already have it labeled for us. Domain is always x, so this entire column right here is our domain, which means this column right here is our range. Okay? So our domain, -5, -1, 1, 5, and our range, 0, 2. Okay. Once again, number 6, input, those are our x values, so we know that that's the domain. Output is our y values, so that's our range. So we have the domain, we have the range. From smallest to largest, our domain is -4, -2, 0, 3, and our range, -3, -1, 0, 1, 2. All right, that's domain and range. If you have any questions, let me know.